President Yoweri Museveni is on Thursday expected to commission the 183 megawatts Isimba hydropower dam located 21 kilometers outside Kayunga town. Construction of the dam at Simba Falls on River Nile started in October 2013. Power will light the deeper recesses of the country. But as the government readies for this landmark, a trail of compensation claims amount at a staggering 600 billion shillings by project-affected persons could put the project into a predicament. If this amount is awarded, there are fears that it could wipe off a substantial amount of the Energy Ministry annual budget. If your land is impacted by a public infrastructure project, you have to be paid fast or later as a standard practice in many countries. Uganda's land acquisition law, last amended in 1970, details several processes for acquiring private land and payment of fair and adequate rates approved by the chief government valuer. According to Article 237 of the 1995 Constitution, power over land lies in the hands of the owners. The Auditor General, John Mwanga, in his latest report submitted to Parliament early this year, raised a red flag over the new compensation claims on Isimba Dam. He has also questioned the 600 megawatts Karuma hydropower dam, whose construction is still ongoing in Chiriandongo district. Both Karuma and Isimba dams cost 6.7 trillion shillings, 80% of it a loan from China's Exim Bank. James Banabe, the Commissioner of Energy Resources in the Energy Ministry, which initially handled payment of project-affected persons on Isimba before the project was taken over by the Uganda Electricity Generation Company Limited, says they have so far paid 44 billion shillings in compensation claims. Banabe hopes that the ongoing Justice Catherine Bamgemerire-led land probe into land mismanagement will give a pronouncement on the matter.
I think there was a lot of speculation where people thought they should be compensated even for the rock that is below the land that we acquired. And we think that so much of that money, first of all, we don't have the money, we don't have it in the budget, and it would be very unfortunate for government if that decision was made that whenever we're compensating people, we also compensate for rock. It will make development of infrastructure projects in Uganda very, very costly. It will mean that every road that you're going to construct, take consideration the rock that is below it.
The matter of new claims emerged last year when they were raised by former Electoral Commission Chairman Badru Chigundu, who now serves as chairman of the steering committee on Karuma Isimba Dam projects. During hearings on the matter last year, the land probe described the claims as both dubious and suspicious. During a site visit to Isimba Dam last year, Justice Bamgemerire and the probe team established that new claims are related to subsurface rocks which were used during construction. There are allegations that claimants were paid, but on discovering that the land had resources such as rocks and sand below, they filed new claims.
The main issues that are driving the cost here is the acquisition of rock. There is a surface rock, the one that you can see, and there's a subsurface rock, the one that you can't see. And the people who were acquired from, state that when they sold their land to the government of Uganda, they sold land. They didn't know that they had rock.
Some of the claimants that have appeared before the probe include Entebbe Municipal Council Town Clerk Charles Magumba, who is seeking 44 billion shillings for rocks used in the construction of Isimba Dam. The land probe had last year that Magumba was paid 200 million shillings in 2014 for a piece of land he bought at 51 million shillings. He further lodged a fresh complaint to the Energy Ministry seeking compensation for a rock which was buried under his land.
One doesn't have to be an environmentalist expert, nor to be a hydropower engineer. What you are seeing here is one of those areas being claimed in billions of shillings. This is hardly a few meters from the river bank, from the river. So it is within the river bank.
Out of the 600 billion shillings, 380 billion shillings are the claims on Isimba, and roughly 11 billion shillings is what claimants are seeking for Karuma. But Chigundu indicated that the determination of claims on future loss of business would require special audit.
in the evaluation process. Some of the questions, and this is not exhaustive, is an indication of, is a questioning that claimant, the authenticity of his business, the expenditure that he has been extending out monthly to the wananchi, particularly if he has been paying any Ugandans, how many are they? Has that claimant been actually paying taxes? We need records from the Revenue Authority. We need records of NSSF contributions and others.
Confidential documents seen by NTV relating to the new compensation claims show that they were mainly propelled by ambiguity in law relating to the definition of subsurface rocks, sand and clay. The Mining and Minerals Bill 2019, which was approved by Cabinet early this year, will then determine whether rocks, sand and clay are minerals. The Solicitor General, Francis Atoke, who is the government legal advisor following his earlier letter to the Ghana National Roads Authority, stated that rocks were not minerals and therefore claimants deserve to be paid. Even before the Solicitor General had appeared before the probe, the matter had already been challenged by the Energy Ministry, which argues that if the government were to pay for rocks, the Treasury would be constrained by the list and amount of claims. Atoke, however, defended that if nobody has been compensated for a rock in Uganda before, it doesn't mean that his opinion was illegal.
Okay, it has been brought to somebody's attention.
Yes. 2,
people have become wiser. 3,
yeah.
It has been provided in the Constitution.
Right.
4, they have been advised to claim it.
According to the document seen by NTV, the matter is further complicated by the court ruling of Justice Andrew Byabashija in the case of Paul Eitolt and 8 others versus Attorney General and Sino Hydro Corporation Limited, lodged at the High Court's Land Division in 2015. In the suit, the Eitolt family wanted court to compel government and the Chinese contractor to pay for aggregate derived from the rock in the land they occupied. In his ruling of the case, Justice Byabashija stated that the rocks in the plaintiff land fit within the provisions of Article 244, which includes any stone commonly used by building or similar purposes from the definition of minerals and therefore part of land owned by individuals as per Article 273(1) of the Constitution. Isaac Eitolt, son of late Eitolt, told NTV that it was arrogance of the Energy Ministry officials which compelled his family to seek legal redress.
We were left with no solution but to run to court. That seemed to be the only viable way for us. Because wherever we spoke to, to us it sounded arrogant because somebody does not respond to you. Somebody does not, they just sugarcoat it and like trying to buy time, but they knew exactly what they wanted. They destroyed our crops, destroyed our land. And also, this is the very land that previously we sold, through contractors, rocks for building, for renovating Chobe Lodge. So they would usually come and get rocks here. We wanted to take advantage of the beautiful site and put up an eco lodge, given our tourism background. So anyway, with all that going about, there was no correspondence. There was no response.
Court awarded the Eitolt family 10 billion shillings, but government has since appealed against the judgment. There's friction between the Commission and the judiciary on some cases that are being litigated, and any pronouncement on the Karoma Isimba claims will likely ruffle feathers. NTV has seen a confidential brief on the same matter, highlighting government's need to set aside the judgment by Justice Byabashija in the case of Eitolt family versus Attorney General and Sino Hydro on grounds that it will set a bad precedent. The interpretation provided in the opinion of the Solicitor General and the judgment of Justice Andrew Byabashija in the Eitolt Paul Peter versus Attorney General and Sino Hydro Corporation in the civil suit number 252 of 2015 sets a serious precedent in the management of the compensation in compulsory acquisition land by government. There's need for government to consider undertaking processes to set aside this interpretation. Otherwise, government infrastructure projects will become expensive as compensation has to be done not only for land but rocks, marram and sand found on the land. One of the other sticky issues is the completion of high-voltage lines to evacuate power once Karuma Dam is completed in December has remained problematic. This is largely attributed to feuds over land ownership or people rejecting rates offered. According to the Uganda Electricity Transmission Company Limited, UETCL, 100 billion shillings is the cost of compensation of people affected by the Karuma transmission lines. UETCL is currently locked in a row with a Chinese company over construction of 3 high-voltage towers in Lubende wetland in Butambula sub-county, Luwero district. The wetland, which is ideally public land, is part of the 2,500 acres that government leased to Kehong Uganda Industrial Development Limited for 99 years for agricultural production in 2015. UETCL says it acquired permits to erect towers in the wetland from the National Environmental Management Authority much earlier, but the Chinese company won't hear any of this. As a result, construction of the angular towers in the wetland, which are part of the transmission line for evacuating power from the dam to the national power grid via the Kawanda substation in Mwakiso district, has stalled. UETCL says they are awaiting for NEMA and the Lands Ministry to provide guidance on the matter, on who is right or wrong. The first phase of the Karuma power evacuation line runs through Chiriandongo, Masindi, Nakasongola, Ruwero and Wakiso districts. Another line running 52 kilometers from Chiriandongo to Nwoya has likewise been constrained by a number of issues ranging from litigation over land ownership. The Karuma transmission lines affect some 4,135 people who were assessed for payment, of which at least 80% have been paid off.
However, as I've said, the remaining 10 to 15% we still require the support of everyone because, as you know, this project is supposed to be completed by December this year, and the transmission line is on the critical path. The dam works are advanced, so it would be a shame if the dam is ready and the transmission line is not ready, purely because UETCL and the government have not been able to hand over the corridor to the contractor who is on the ground.
The remaining 20% is as a result of hindrances like disputes between landowners or protracted court cases.
Once you're in court, you follow the due process of the law, and whatever the judge pronounces himself or herself is done. For us as UETCL, we've deliberately chosen the path of engagement, engaging the community rather than the confrontation.
In instances where project-affected persons are in court over land ownership, like in Robert Semanda's case, it is difficult to tell how long court will deliver a verdict. Semanda was arrested in 2016 and later sentenced to 1 year in prison or pay 56 million shillings for trespassing on land. He alleges that his late father first acquired a lease on this piece of land in 1979, and this was immediately renewed upon expiry in 2014. He claims that a new claimant emerged with no roots in the area but with seemingly deep pockets and the right connections, which landed Semanda in prison.
Namusibidde mu bulimba Buteera byakolaki byakozesa ate naye nga kennyini waali bamuyita kwolwo okubeerawo Buteera n'agamba yi ate baali baagala kunta ne bagamba nti nti tutujja tumumuta wabula amale okusasula sente zange yadde ettaka siririiko kandiveeko naye ate njagala sente zange zinakozesa mu musango.
In Karuma Town Council, businessman Ashraf Awori accused UETCL officials of complicating the matter of his compensation.
Still 210 up to now, them is not paying me. I request them to pay me, it's not paying. Said it's coming up to now. Now, the one day is brought materials without pay, I stopped them. He said, okay, he's going to pay. I bring my lawyer, he's talking with them. He says he's going to come to make violation.
Land acquisition for infrastructure projects in Uganda has of late become laborious. further worsened by corruption from local councils to the highest offices in the land. And while it is benefiting some people, it is heavily burdening taxpayers.